name is Nicole. I'm a producer for the Remembering Them podcast. The podcast is a platform for people to share stories and memories of their loved ones who have passed away. The podcast was created in memory of Dad, Bob Cecil. May he rest in peace. Your host, Mark, Ryan, and Luke acknowledge the rich history and importance of storytelling within the indigenous culture.
My name is Jorgi Skeen, and I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we meet here today. Today we're meeting in Meanjin, and those traditional owners are the Yagara and Turrbal people. And I'd also like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge my people, the Gubbi Gubbi people, and extend that acknowledgement to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people listening in today.
Hi, it's Mark here. This episode contains discussions about suicide and mental health. If this topic is distressing for you, please consider skipping this episode or listening with someone you trust. Support is available. In Australia, you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14 at any time. If you're listening from another country, please reach out to a local crisis service or mental health support line in your area. Hello, Ryan and Luke. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hey boys.
Morning, fellas.
It's morning always.
Morning always.
Well, it is actually morning right now.
It is today.
Here's your morning clue for you. 3 as always to try and guess where our guest is from. Play along at home. See if you can beat Ryan and Luke. Clue number 1. I wonder how many people do normally beat you guys. I'd say
Nobody. No one.
Yeah.
No one.
No, I'm sure we're the best.
Undefeated.
All right, let's see. Clue number 1. This place has the world's smallest park. It holds the Guinness World Record as the smallest park in the world, measuring just 2 feet across. It was originally intended for a light pole, but was turned into a quirky official city park, complete with a tiny tree and seasonal decorations. Where are we?
I feel like I've had this question before, and I know you've trotted out some before just to throw it in my face. Like you've doubled up on questions, but
we have had interesting that you say that, because we have had a tiny park clue before, but we haven't been here before.
the fact that you remember that as well is even more insane. Luke, you got anything here?
Morning.
Yeah, mate. Morning.
Sorry, I'm just thinking
Big tiny park aficionado on.
I'm getting Kazakhstan vibes or something a bit left of field.
No, I feel like this is like a luxurious type thing. You've got to be in a wealthy country to have tiny parks.
Mm.
We have so many parks, we can make tiny parks. This seems like an Irish thing to me.
You guessing Ireland? It is not Ireland. Clue number 2 for you.
I love how you just speed it along.
Wrong. Next. Clue number 2. This place has the deepest lake formed entirely by volcanic activity, with no rivers flowing in or out of it. Its clarity and intense blue color are considered amongst the purest in the world.
That's a good clue. I like that clue.
That is a good clue.
It's giving me clarity, Lake Canada.
Yeah,
also volcanic Italy.
Yeah, I was thinking
one of the two.
It could be an Italy thing too. Volcanic Hawaii.
It's definitely not Kazakhstan.
Let's go Italy then.
Not Italy. This third clue is a good one. They're all good ones, actually, but this one should narrow it down for you. It's the only state, so we're in the United States, with an official state nut. It's the only US state to have an official state nut, the hazelnut, also known as the filbert. In fact, it's the only state that produces hazelnuts commercially at scale, accounting for 99% of the US supply. I don't know, wonder what the 1% is, but 99% of the US supply.
Just ignoring that question and going back to the lake.
Yeah, your clues are so random that you don't even like hear them sometimes.
I think they all add up.
It's
Small
just
park,
words.
state nut, big lake.
If I had to guess, I would go California. But what do you think, Luke?
I'm still thinking Canada. Canada's a
You
state of
just said
America,
it's
isn't it?
America.
I said it's in the US.
Are you sure you want to
Yeah,
do this?
the state of Canada.
All right, well, Luke's disqualified. Let's go California.
That's hilarious. Canada's not in the US and it's not California.
Okay.
So we are in Oregon,
Oh,
specifically Junction City. So the two of the clues. Number one, Mills End Park in downtown Portland is the world's smallest park, and Crater Lake is the place that has the deepest lake formed entirely by volcanic activity. So Junction City, Oregon, is a small town nestled in Willamette Valley. Valley, maybe, known for its rich agricultural roots and strong Scandinavian heritage. Celebrated annually with a Scandinavian festival. It also serves as a hub for RV manufacturing and is surrounded by scenic farmland and wineries. Our guest today is a full-time mum to 3 toddlers with some part-time help, currently diving into her first semester study psychology at ASU. She loves hiking, cooking, baking, and practicing calligraphy. And something that some people don't know about her, she's donated a kidney in 2017. She's planning a big move to Arizona after the summer. So our guest today from Junction City in Oregon is Rachel Wall. Welcome to the Remembering Them podcast officially, Rachel. Thank you very much for joining us all the way over from Oregon.
Thank you. This is exciting.
Yeah, I remember when you completed the form, you were like, you guys are in Australia? No way. So we're equally
I
excited.
had no idea. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us with the time difference. If you'd like to start the podcast by telling us who we're talking about today and what happened to that special person.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm here to talk about my husband, Mike. He was the best. He was just the kindest man. Such a great husband, such a great dad. He had a lot of chronic pain from an accident that he was in when he was 16. He had daily serious headaches or migraines all the time, every day. And we were married just shy of 4 years. We had 3 children under the age of 3, and he died by suicide last June.
Yeah, I guess from the pain, but were there signs of depression or mental health challenges that led to?
Not really. No, he was such a happy guy. He never, so many people didn't even know that he had chronic head pain. He he was such a good person. He really saw his accident as kind of a good thing, a little bit. Like he said, it made him so much more empathetic. It made him more conscious of other people and their struggles. He said it made him a better person overall. Obviously, it was very difficult for him physically with his head pain and other subsequent, like he had some other injuries from that accident that gave him, issues. He had a rod in his arm and some nerve stuff, but no, he was so others focused. He never liked to talk about himself. He just was all about everybody else all the time. And everybody just loved him. He was always so nice. That's what everybody used to say. Oh my gosh, that's the nicest guy I've ever met. Like he was a sweetheart. And, toward the end, there was like a little bit of, he would have a panic attack here or there. But even that was not anything like grandiose. It was just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I just feel really like anxious, and that only happened 1 or 2 times. But I will say that the weekend before he died, I could tell that little things were bugging him, more so than ever before. His mom had flown in and he was on his way home from work, and I know he really wanted to get home, and they had worked a little bit late, so he was kind of like, I want to get there. I want to see my mom. His mom lives in Utah, and so he was kind of stressed out, and he had just bought a new pickup, and he was worried the oil light came on, and he was really worried that he perhaps had like run the truck out of oil, and oh my gosh, what if I ruined the truck? What if I blew the motor? And it was just kind of like these huge mountains out of molehills that whole weekend. And it was kind of like, hey, like this is, it's probably fine, or if something awful happened, we'll buy another truck. Like, it's not the end of the world, and I thought we were talking about those. I thought it didn't seem like things that were unresolved. It seemed like he would kind of work himself up over something, and then I'd be like, "Hey, we're good. It's fine," and he'd be like, "Yeah, you're right. You're right." So no, it was completely out of left field. I never would have ever imagined that. And neither would anybody else. Everybody immediately was like, he was a welder, fabricator, and he worked, at mills fixing things and this and that for my brother's company. And everybody was like, it had to have been a car accident. It had to have been a work accident. I mean, and when I shared that it was suicide, people just were just shocked. And it really is still to this day. Like, I don't know when that's ever going to make sense to me, because it just is. He was the last person that you would expect to just be, while also that is the face of suicide sometimes, is people just don't share it, and he was so others focused that it doesn't surprise me that he didn't share those things with the people close to him, because he tended to always feel like he was a burden because of his head pain. Every now and then he'd have to go take a nap or, whatever. He had a hard time parenting. I mean, we had 3 toddlers, so our life was chaotic, but, and he would really take that stuff to heart. Like, he would feel like crap that he had to do that. But I know he didn't want to worry his family, he didn't want to worry his mom. And it's just such a shame that so many people, men specifically, internalize that until the cork pops and, they're just already in that tunnel.
How old was Mike, Rachel, when he passed away?
29.
Wow.
Yeah, he was 29. I was 32. And yeah, he would have been 30 in like 6 months right after that. So young.
Yeah. How did you, I guess at the time, process Mike's passing, the way that he passed? And then, since then, how have you dealt with it and managed?
I feel like denial lasts so much longer than you expect. I thought at the time, looking forward to a year, because it's been just over a year, I thought, well, at least in a year, I'll be better. I'll be, I'll have gone through this process, and things will be different. And things are a lot different. But to be honest with you, don't think I'm out of denial. Like, it doesn't feel at all like I will never see him again. It doesn't feel like, he is gone. And I don't mean that in like, I just feel him next to me all the time. Like, it's not like that, but like, it just seems like he's on a job, or he's on vacation, or it just doesn't make any sense to me to wrap your brain around the fact that especially with suicide, most times it's so sudden that it's like I was talking to him, and then by the time I got there, he was dead. And that is just such a hard thing. And I know, that his parents, his siblings, they didn't see him all that often. But I don't think anybody is really gets it. And so I feel in a lot of ways that I'm in the exact same spot that I was a year ago. I feel in other ways, especially when you look at young children, that our middle child is almost the age that our oldest child was last year when he died. And that's kind of a trip. Like, all of this stuff that he's missed, like, our kids are becoming little kids, they're not little babies anymore. Our son had just turned 1 the week before. And so looking back at like the pictures and stuff, I'm like, he was a baby and now he's talking and like doing kid stuff. And so a lot has changed, but I think emotionally, it feels very, I don't know the word for it, but I talk about it with my therapist a lot. Like, it feels so defeating to think I have 40 more years of this. Like, I have to feel this. I have to carry this feeling for the rest of my life. Like, it's a very day-to-day feeling. It's like, okay, cool, we made it through the day. And it's almost kind of like, okay, well, I have, 50,000 more of these days coming. So, ooh, yay, made it through one. So I don't know. I mean, I think I think it's given me a lot of, again, similar to Mike, how he felt after his accident. I think it's given me a lot of empathy for people. It's given me a whole new career trajectory in helping other people. It's given me a lot more insight into mental health and the types of people that do take their lives, which, you kind of have this picture in your head until you're specifically affected by it. And you just think, oh, not them, though, not them, not somebody like my husband. And you just never know. So, I don't like to feel pessimistic about it, but it does you're a whole nother person. You're a whole different person before that happens and immediately after. And so I do think it's changed that way in a way.
Rachel, you described Mike, and everyone describes Mike as one of the nicest people in the world. How else would you describe him to a stranger and to us who didn't have the pleasure of meeting him?
This is a paid partnership with BetterHelp. Hey Luke and Ryan, life gets heavy sometimes, especially when grief hits. For me, that weight often shows up as anxiety.
Yeah, it's not always one big thing. Sometimes it's just life piling up, work, relationships, trying to hold it all together. Suddenly, I'm anxious and don't know why.
Totally. I used to think anxiety meant panic attacks, but for me, it's more like overthinking every choice or feeling like I'm never doing enough.
And it can even hit on good days. Out of nowhere, I'm spiraling over things that haven't even happened yet.
It's easy to feel alone in it, but you're not.
That's why we're talking about our paid partner, BetterHelp.
BetterHelp connects you with credentialed therapists who can help manage anxiety and more.
Most people go to BetterHelp for anxiety, and 69% feel better after just 6 weeks.
Getting started is simple. Fill out a quick questionnaire and get matched with a therapist. If it's not a fit, you can switch at any time.
Their support team is super responsive, and with over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 Trustpilot rating, it's a platform you can count on.
So let BetterHelp help manage your anxiety so it doesn't manage you.
Click the link below or go to betterhelp.com/rememberingthem for 10% off your first month.
That's such a good question. He was so patient. He was so kind. He was so respectful. And he was very unlike a lot of the people that he was with a lot because in blue collar trades, sometimes there is a typical type of attitude and personality. And Mike was not that personality. And when he first started working there were employees that went to my brother and said like, wow, your brother-in-law is like super nice. And he's like, yeah, he's a nice guy. And he's like, are you sure he wants to work here? Like, my husband didn't swear. My husband, would never say anything mean to anybody. Like they would try and get him to swear. And he'd be like, I'm not going to do that. And I think he's the type of guy that like those people pick on, but instead they just loved him because he was so nice. And I like to say for people who are religious, I think my husband's gift was to bring Jesus to people without words. He was a missionary. That's how I met him. But he was so good at just being with people. He was so good at just being, in my thought process as a religious person, being Jesus's hands to people without ever having to say it. Because so many people, don't believe that or are very rough around the edges, or maybe they don't want to talk about God. They don't want to talk about church. And that never mattered to him because he was just that person to them. And I think that's why, especially his work friends took his death so hard because, my brother said that first week, he goes, man, I have never seen so many badass construction dudes crying over this Mormon missionary boy, like that they worked with. And they were just distraught. So I think it really speaks to who he was. He was hilarious. He loved candy. He loved to eat. Like, oh my gosh, he could eat. He loved being with people. He loved games. Like he just loved to do things that made other people happy. Because I think that in turn made him happy, even though he was really struggling.
What were some of his favorite things, Rachel? Games, food, some of those topics that you
Games.
discovered.
So I'm not a game person. My mom is the only one in my family that's a game person. And she would always be like, play games with me. And we'd be like, we don't feel like it. But Mike would be like, yeah, I'll play games with you. So that was like an easy win over. So he would play Phase 10 with her. Him and his family played a lot of, I don't even remember the names. I feel like Wacky Six, I feel like is the name of a game that they played. What is the other one? Uh, I'm not going to remember it. I can see the picture. It's like purple card game. Uno, also Pit. I don't know if you guys have ever played the game Pit. It's hilarious. I played it with him for the first time. Anything. He would do anything with anybody. He loved to hike. He really wanted to see all the national parks in America. And so after he died, we started over, and I've started taking our kids to all of the national parks, and we have um, a little hashtag for people to go and take them along, or there's some stickers and stuff, and we just get to plug in the ones that we've been to. Yeah, he loved to do things. He just loved to do things, especially outside, making things, being crafty. He was great at DIY things. And anything he didn't know how to do, he just YouTubed and he figured it out. He was very capable that way.
Is there a quote or saying that reminds you of Mike?
I wish. I mean, Mike was cremated because his family was so spread out. And so it was kind of distributed between me and his parents, and then small amounts for all of his siblings. He was one of 7 siblings. And so instead of having a headstone, we got benches made. So there's one in Utah at the cemetery there. There's one here at a park by our first house in our town. And then I have one.
Is it a big park?
At my house. It's not necessarily a big park.
Right. You'll hear that in the intro. It's just a bit of a jibe about Oregon.
Yeah, it's not huge, but it's just like a little park that we would take the kids to a lot. It's right next to the city pool. And so a lot of people walk past it. And so, and as we were trying to figure out what to put on it, because, with some other examples, there were some, famous quotations and stuff on there that they liked, and not really. No, I mean, I can't think of anything specific that reminds me of him. He really loved reading the scriptures. He really loved music, but I don't know that he was necessarily tied to anything specific. I wish, because I would have gotten, tattooed or something like that, but not really. No, we had some inside jokes, but not anything, specific. He did like Harry Potter and all of those things. I'm not big on fantasy, so he forced me to watch the Harry Potters and the Lord of the Rings and all of that, and I did it. But so he liked that, and he would quote that stuff a lot. But yeah.
What about lessons? Probably both from Mike as a person, and then lessons that you've learned, post his passing.
The Remembering Them podcast is supported by My Legacy Message. How do you want to be remembered? My Legacy Message provides a service that delivers a personalized keepsake video to your loved ones, often as a surprise after you pass. My Legacy Message, be remembered.
Oh, sure. I think I never, in my mid-20s, by the time I was in my mid-20s, right before I met Mike, it sounds funny because you look back when you're in your 30s and you're like, you're so young when you're in your mid-20s. But I had never had a relationship. And so I kind of thought I was so career oriented that I just kind of was like, maybe I don't ever get married. Maybe I don't ever have kids. Maybe that's not my plan, and Mike really just fell into my lap one day. And I never felt like I deserved someone like Mike. I, to this day, feel like, oh my gosh, if they give me compliments or they say, I'm so, proud of what you're doing in Mike's honor, or so I'm proud of this or that. It's like, I wish you had met Mike, because you would be blown away by him. And I think he was so good at teaching people that you can be kind to everyone. You can find good things in everyone. He was just always so nice to everybody because of who he was. And so I think that speaks a lot to what you can take from that person, even though they're gone. You can be like that person. You can continue to have that energy in the world. And he was really good at making positives out of negatives. He, you know what? One thing he did used to say a lot, I don't know if I would have put it on a bench, but he did used to always say, is this going to matter in 100 years? In terms of, this is not a big deal. You know, like if he was upset about something or if I was upset about something, you know, this is not going to matter in 100 years. Like, let's just let it go. Let's just have a good time, you know? And so he was very patient with life like that and very, very optimistic about life. Which I guess is kind of ironic given the way he died, but he really did live that way. And I would say lessons since he's been gone. I don't know. I mean, you can't judge anybody from the outside. You can't say what is a big deal to somebody. You can't, you know, have any idea what's going on in someone's head. And further, that goes to show that sometimes not all suicides are preventable because you can only know what people tell you. And I heard it explained once that a lot of suicides are in the same progression, if you can think about it, like cancer or like another disease. There's stage 1 to stage 4. And sometimes if someone's in the stage 1 and they're just thinking about it, or life is getting hard, you know, or if they're willing to open up to you, maybe you can catch them in time. Maybe you can turn them around. Maybe you can offer those resources and get them back, you know, on the straight and narrow. But if somebody's at a stage 4, it's really hard to get them back to the thought where that thought is not there anymore and it's not becoming an active ideation anymore. And that I think helped in a lot of ways. It helped me, even though most survivors, most spouses are always going to feel guilt if their loved one dies by suicide. It's always going to be, and it doesn't sound like it's my fault, but it sounds like I should have done this. Why didn't I see that? You know, if I would have done this and this and this, maybe that would have made a difference, you know. But again, knowing that sometimes it's just not ever something you can turn around, I think sometimes helps me remember that, like, I only did something about what I knew about. And even on my way to go find him, I had no idea that that's what he meant as he was talking on the phone to me, you know, about not coming to get him and sending somebody else instead. I went the completely opposite way. So I think that's important to know. I've learned so much more about mental health, and I think that's something that can be applicable to so many people, age, race, gender, you know, whatever, just people in general. Everybody struggles with this mindset, you know, and hopefully for some people it's very low and, you know, it's not ever a full-blown issue. But I have consistently been surprised at how many people message me and say, like, you know, I came across your husband's story and I decided to not go through with my plan. Or, you know, people who heard about Mike in the middle of writing notes. You know, I mean, it's just, it sucks that somebody has to die to hear those stories, but at least you hear them. At least there's that comes out of it, you know. So it's not a good thing. I wish my husband didn't have to die for that to have happened, but if that's gonna happen anyway, it is nice to hear that even through death, sometimes people can still be helpful, you know, and their story can still be important.
Makes sense. I haven't heard it described that way, but I guess if they're at a stage where you call it a point of no return, then there's not a lot that you could have done regardless.
Yeah.
And on that point, advice for people that may, you know, find themselves in a similar situation to yourself, lost a partner or a family or a friend to suicide. What advice would you give to them? And given it's only been a year, I know you're still, you know,
Sure.
working things out and battling through this.
Yeah, I mean, on the survivor side, I would just say you have to kind of keep on reminding yourself and keep on believing people that it isn't your fault. There's likely nothing you could have done that would have stopped that person, because maybe you stop them and maybe the next day is the day that it happens, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like, they are in control of that choice. And while it is sad that choice, when I say that, is kind of italicized, because suicide is literally, it's an unwell brain. So it is a choice of theirs, but it's a choice with an asterisk because the brain is not working at that point. And that's why it's hard to understand, is that you're trying to rationalize an unhealthy brain with your functioning brain. And it's never going to make sense because it's not, the brain is not working. And so I think accept all the help that you can, even though it sucks, even though you feel like, oh, you don't have to do that for me. You don't have to do that for me. Just say yes. Say yes to the help. Say yes to continuing to talk about that person. Don't feel like you can't share that your person died by suicide. I feel like it's such a dirty word and nobody wants to. That was my first thought, truly, while I was on the phone with 911. Said to myself, I cannot let anybody know this is how he died, because I could not stomach anybody being mad at him for the way that he died. And I just thought, no, nobody is going to, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I cannot let anybody know this because they're going to be upset. And within 24 hours, it was like, no, like people have to know this, because I'm not ashamed of my husband. I'm not ashamed of how he died. And while he was a very private person, he's got a mission now, and his mission is to help others through this. And the only way we're going to work through this by someday is talking about it. And so, yeah, on the survivor side, I would say all of those things. Seek therapy. Therapy is incredible. I know you don't want to go, but just go. And then in terms of people struggling with their mental health, if you have any fight left in you to reach out for help, please accept the help. Please tell somebody that really awkward statement of I don't know, I've been really off and I can't figure out how to want to live anymore, or anything. If you go in the US, even if you Google 988, which is our now nationwide suicide and crisis lifeline, even if you Google 988, it'll set you up with prompts, so you don't have to think about what to say. If you're in the middle of a crisis, you can just click it and it'll send that text to 988, or you can call that number. I don't know. I mean, there's so many resources. There's resources to groups. There's resources to all of those kinds of things on the National Alliance for Mental Health and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. But you have to want to get the help, and I think that's the hard part. And all I can do is say, please don't do this. I think if my husband had any idea how much this would implode people's lives, and that we were on our way to try more things. He just had been so let down by the healthcare system here for so long that I think all of the fight in him was gone. And he was just done. He was just tapped out. And so, I don't know, be persistent. If there's anything that can help, just make it through. I heard it said once, you don't have to have a good reason to wake up tomorrow, just a reason. Your reason can be, oh my gosh, my plants are going to die if I don't water them. Or your reason can be oh, I got to stay awake and, I got to stay alive till tomorrow because my cat's not going to have food, or whatever. Oh, I have this appointment that I have to go to. It doesn't have to be a good reason. I feel like people get so stuck on, I need this great reason to keep living. And, oh, life is great. Shouldn't you want to live here? And you're in the middle of depression. You're like, no, I don't. But if you can just find a reason, people will miss you. And more than I think anybody imagines, that people will miss them. And I hope you stay. I always say, if you choose to take your life, I will not judge you. I think it's a controversial opinion. I think people should have that option. I don't judge people because I don't know what their life looked like. And, I'll always try and understand, and I won't judge you in death, just like I try not to judge people in life. But we will miss you, and we will be really sad. So I don't know. I don't know how else you kind of steer somebody back. I wish I could have known. But yeah, people will miss you if you leave, that's for sure.
That's really good advice. And I feel like we could just clip that up, the few minutes that you spoke there, and anyone that's, battling with someone, just listen to that and have that reason, any reason. That's really great advice. And also around reaching out to people. You mentioned the hiking with your kids. Is that the main way that you honor Mike today? Or are there any other ways that you honor him?
So not really. I just share a lot of our story on social media. I talk about him any chance that I can get. And that's why I'm so grateful for you to reach out, because I love talking about my husband. I'm going to miss him for the rest of my life. And I love talking about who he was before he died and also how he died to help other people. But yeah, that is one of the big things that we're doing is, and that was actually set up by one of our best friends, the couple that we were probably closest with. They set that up and they were like, we should do a hashtag so that people go to the national parks. They can hashtag the, national parks for Mike. And that, so I'd say that that's one of the big longer type goals that we're doing. And then just a couple months ago, I re-enrolled. I would say, well, re-enrolled. I went to a year of community college, so I did not go to college really. But I enrolled at ASU to go back for psychology and social work to hopefully continue to make a difference in the mental health field in honor of him too. So that's, I mean, it's not fun right now. I'm having to take my mandated math class right now, which is the worst. So I'm just like, ugh, 3 more weeks and then I'm done with this and on to like the actual reason I'm in school. But yeah, I'm hoping that Mike can help me make a difference for people through that in whatever capacity that is. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to be, but yeah.
What is the hashtag?
His hashtag is National Parks for Mike.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll share that when we release the podcast and in the notes there. Do you have a favorite story or memory of Mike?
Not really. I mean, one of our two memories, I would say, when I went down to meet his family for the first time in Utah, I flew from Oregon to Utah and I got in. Well, I flew to Vegas because they're in southern Utah. So I flew to Vegas. He picked me up. We drove back to St. George. Got there at like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then we woke up at 5 in the morning to go to Zion National Park, which is gorgeous. It's so beautiful there, and we hiked this famous hike there called Angel's Landing. And I'm not an in shape person. I love to hike, but like he was much more conditioned than me. But we did it. We walked it. It's like a 5-hour hike. So we, got up there. We have this picture at the top. And then by the time we got down, it was so hot because it was September. So still hot over there. But that was amazing. Yeah, I think he might have hiked it once before, but I mean, it's 1,500 feet up, and you hold on to these chains as you're like going up the spine of this mountain, and you just like, I have this video where it's like you can see where you're walking, and you just pan over, and it's just like 1,500 feet down. And I was like, I don't know how you got me to do this. Not that I'm like super scared of heights, but that's a high height, and I love that trip. I mean, we were exhausted. But it was so great. It was so great. And our whole wedding was amazing. We got married in 2020 when everything was shut down. And so we were going to get married in Utah a couple months later. We just moved it up instead. We got married on the property that I grew up on. We got married in the morning. We had a continental breakfast, and it was just our immediate families. So there's only like 18 of us, and our families met for the first time. We just hung out all day, and it was so low key, and it was just the best. But yeah, every day. I mean, every day. There was not a day that went by that I didn't feel so honored to be his wife, and that he didn't, make me his just prized possession. And we adored each other, and it's hard to let that go. It's hard to not look for that in every relationship, or think that you will look for that in every relationship that's to come, because he just made life that much better by being there. Which sucks to lose, but was so special to have when I had it.
Rachel, I have one final question for you for the main part of the podcast. Before I do, I can tell the guys have really enjoyed this chat because they've been silent throughout and just letting
We
you run
don't
with
usually not say anything like that.
Exactly.
It's nice. It's nice to not hear Ryan speak.
Yeah, no, I've
enjoyed
been
it.
trying to limit myself. No, I've just been really enjoying listening to you talk about Mike, and this is like such a heavy topic. I'm just like, Mike's better at this than me, so I'm just letting him steer. It's really, I'm really enjoying this. Like,
yeah, we could certainly keep going for ages, I'm sure, hearing about Mike and the wonderful person he was, but we'll save some of that for the Patreon chat. Final question for you, Rachel, for the main part of the podcast. I know this is tough given it's only been a year on, but if Mike was in front of you today, what would you say to him?
Oh, you are good at these questions. I was so proud of myself. I was like, man, I'm not going to cry on this whole podcast. You talk about all of the, the tragic stuff, and you become so numb to it that the only time I ever get emotional is when I talk about how good of a guy Mike was. I would just say thank you. Like, thank you for everything that you gave me in life, like our children and the years that we had together. And I'm sorry that you were failed so hard by, the medical field. And I would have done anything for as long as I could to fix that for you. But if I only got him back for just a second, and then he was going to go again, that's what I would say. I love you. He told me that he loved me on our last phone call, and I was so confused by the phone call, and I was so busy trying to download the information of what was going on that I didn't say it back, and that really bothers me. But I would just say thank you, and I'm sorry, and I hope that you enjoy your peace and that you are living pain-free and doing the next chapter of what you're supposed to be doing and helping people, from beyond. And I know he's so busy up there, and I'm okay, to let him go and do that, because it sucks. Grief is hard. It's so heavy for you, and it never goes away because it's such this deep loss. While being so I am happy for him. I'm happy for him that he doesn't have to deal with that anymore, and he can live the way he was supposed to live here without having that anchor of pain every day. So, wow, what a great question. Thank you. Yeah, but I think he can see that, I don't get too into the whole signs and like, oh, I saw a dragonfly, that must be my husband, and if you feel that way, I'm glad for you, but I can't get on board with that personally. But I do try and look for him, in ways, and I think they show up. But yeah, that's a great question. I am happy that he is at peace. I just wish it didn't come with so much pain for everybody else. But that's how you know you lived a good life, when people miss you that much.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Rachel. I know that is a tough one, especially being so short, after the time frame. But I think even, fast forward years down the track, I think it would still bring out that emotion, given, the type of guy that Mike was in your life. So thank you very much for being vulnerable and open to sharing. And, I hate that it's on there, but I also love what you say on your Instagram profile around, I'm just crying over my husband on the internet. So you lived up to that today, and sorry that we took you there, but thank you for being so open and vulnerable and sharing. We've loved hearing about him. So and I'm sure, I'm so positive that if just one person hears this story and may have saved someone's life. So thank you very much for coming on and joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for all you're doing.
Ryan and Luke, that was Rachel from Junction City in Oregon.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Mike. That was a great chat hearing about Mike. Ryan?
I don't know, man.
What did you think, man?
I'm shell shocked. I think Rachel's. It wasn't in the Patreon. It was in the main chat talking about stages of stage, relating it to cancer effectively, and I'm just sort of shell shocked that you can go from be at a stage 4 and nobody even suspects it. Not that I don't believe her, I absolutely believe her. It's just scary.
The analogy, you mean?
Yeah, well, and just the fact that I think I knew that people can be on the verge of doing that and not really show any signs of doing it. But I think in my head, I was like, well, yeah, there's got to be something.
There's got to be some.
There's
Yeah.
something, like even if it's, but it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it was just completely out of the blue. And now I'm shit scared about like everybody I know.
I think it's just not at the forefront of your mind. So
It's
those
not.
signs that they're just
Yeah.
undetected, unless you're really thinking about it on a
Well,
daily
that's
sort
the
of.
the thing. It's up to how the person just hides it, right? And just goes about their life just functioning with this burden and how good they are at doing that. So it sounds like Mike was pretty, because it could absorb a lot and just sort of go about his day, and probably ties into that whole don't want to be a burden to everyone else thing that Rachel said he was like. So
Yeah, it sounds like he was such a nice guy. It spoke into that personnel, that he was such a nice guy that he didn't want to
he could
burden anyone with
cover it up.
any sort of any sort of inkling that he was not coping with things.
Man, that's extra scary.
What a powerhouse Rachel is. 3 toddlers, and the way that she spoke throughout our chat and answered her questions and held herself. Only 12 months on. What an amazing woman.
I also can't believe that people are, like she mentioned on social media, people are out there like angry about him, angry at him for taking his own life. Like, get a clue. Like,
I think that's
it's
the
commenting
default,
on
isn't it?
people's.
Yeah, maybe it's the default that you've left your wife and kids and blah blah blah, but not
I
knowing
know.
what they were dealing with or battling with mentally. Yeah,
I know. It's just it's such a reductionist viewpoint. I think it's just easy to go, oh, how selfish are you? It's like, yeah, but like you obviously don't know what's going on. Everything's different.
Yeah, I think social media, once you put it out there, there's always going to be people saying negative things about it. Because funnily enough, one of our previous guests popped up on Instagram last night, and I had a quick scroll, gave her a follow, and I looked at some of the videos about her mum. And there were like keyboard warriors saying, "Why are you putting this on social media?" Blah blah blah. And it's just like I didn't even read her comment, but I'm just like, well, this is her telling her story about her mum. And then sure enough, the comment was like, this is me just,
it's an outlet.
Keeping the legacy on. So I think no matter what you do, there's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people saying negative things because they don't have anything better to do. And that's just the way it is.
we don't have a big footprint, but
I was going to say, all the haters on the podcast, man up. What's up?
Wait till we get, if we ever get bigger, I'm sure the haters will come out. But we really appreciate you, Rachel, coming on and sharing your story, Mike's story. We loved hearing all the memories and the great times you had with him, and equally thank you for sharing the tough time as well, and the stuff that you've been through recently. As I said in the podcast, and I said to Rachel at the end there, that I have no doubt that this story will help someone, despite our humble reach. Ryan alluded to the Patreon chat. So just a reminder to people, that's a way to support the podcast and also listen to those exclusive chats that we have with our guests. The one with Rachel was fantastic. She went into the story of what exactly happened, those moments leading up to Mike's passing. So you'll only get that as a Patreon member. And thank you again to Rachel for being so open and sharing that story. It's also a way to support the podcast, $6 a month US, about $9 a month Australian, to support us through Patreon.com/Remembering Them podcast. A reminder to give us a rating and review. If you've enjoyed this chat with Rachel, please share it, especially if you know someone that has lost someone to suicide. I'm sure this story would certainly be impactful and help them in a way. 5 stars ideally for our, if you are giving us a rating and review, feel free to leave some comments as well. Hate, positive, whatever, leave a comment. We'll accept it all.
Haters.
Jump on our socials and leave those comments if you like. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok and YouTube. Reminder that the My Legacy message service is there available as well, mylegacymessage.com.au. Leave a video message to your loved ones, often a surprise after you've passed. And we spoke to Rachel in the Patreon actually around what Mike might say to her and what he might say, around being sorry and that he's putting herself and the family through this and other people. So that service is out there. And also Rachel mentioned throughout the podcast about speaking to her therapist and helping her through the grieving process. And we have that partnership with BetterHelp. So betterhelp.com/remembering them, 10% off your first month. If you do need to speak to a credentialed therapist to help you through whatever grief you are going through. That's it. Thank you guys for joining me. It was great. Great episode, really sad story, but Rachel, what an amazing person, and we wish her and the family all the best on behalf of the podcast and all of our listeners. So, great story. Thank you both for joining me. Looking forward to the next chat with the next guest.
Thank you, mate.
Love you both. Bye.
Thank you, Rachel. See you guys.
The Remembering Them podcast is created for entertainment purposes. Mark, Ryan, and Luke are not licensed mental health professionals. If you would like to discuss your mental well-being, several resources are available in Australia. Information about these services are available in the podcast notes. Please take the time to contact your loved one today and tell them how much you appreciate and love them.